Welcome back, everybody, to the Hunt Experience. I am Cody Gann.
I'm Chris Brewer. This episode is sponsored by Camo Family Outdoors and Whitetail Property Management.
So today's topic, we're in postseason, Chris, right?
Postseason. Yep, season's over.
Season's over. So we're going to look at kind of go over the things that need to be done in the postseason right now.
Yep.
Both of our places need this.
Postseason projects.
So we are episode number 3, right?
Episode number 3.
All right. So
We're knocking them out.
In our first one, we talked about planting red osier dogwood.
Yep.
And so you get to go take a look at some of that, right?
Went down there yesterday, drove around, looked at every single plant. The update is no update. Nothing's happening yet. So. But we're only 2 weeks in. So
Right.
yeah, fingers are still crossed that something's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And it's like 30-something degrees outside right now. So
Yeah.
that's not going to help things yet. So
Probably not. So, but we'll definitely keep y'all posted on that. As I said before, found tons of video on planning it, but nobody came back and updated and say, does it work? So we're definitely going to
So just keep checking and see.
keep everybody posted on failure or completion of the project.
And hopefully we can come back and say, hey, it works in the South.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Well, right there on that
you
cuff.
get some cool footage of me arrowing a big buck over a red osier
Sure, he's got a big
dogwood.
old piece of dogwood hanging out. That would be
That's
awesome.
ideal. So that's what we're shooting for. That's the goal.
Right. So one thing we want to talk about today is stand access
Yeah.
and how huge it is right now to get out there and get access to your stands cleared and corridor access cleared too, right?
Yeah. So, the 40-acre project, I had some stands that didn't hunt the way I thought they would hunt and some access issues. I never got busted out of them, but I could see where I could. So, right now's a good time before, everything gets too bushy, both
Foliage.
snakes and chiggers and all that stuff get out. So I can go out there and change it. My personal one, my main one, I have to actually make a curve out into the visual stuff. So my switchgrass is going to take care of all that, but it's not. It's still pretty immature switchgrass. So
Takes a while to make.
I'm a few years out from that. So I've got to actually change the way I come into that thing and not make that curve, which I should have did it last year, but I got a little lazy and the trail was kind of already there, so I used it.
We're running out of time too.
Yeah, it was getting late. I missed some early season, just trying to get ready. So, great time to do that. So my personal one is, most of my access is there. It's small changes just to stay out of view. You and I are both real big on. We don't go out there during the season, obviously, but we try to clean them out pre-season and keep them up, as leaf-free and stick-free as possible. And I'm actually going to widen one of mine out a little bit because we both supplemental feed, and I've got a new little cart that I'm going to use this year. And so I'm actually going to make mine a little bit wider so I can actually use that access trail to supplement feed on as well. So I've got a little bit of chainsawing work to do.
To open up.
Make it a little bit wider and make access to that so I can get in and out quietly without being seen. But
Yeah, and like you said, right now, no foliage.
yeah.
I mean, we're just starting to bud on some stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we're right at the edge of it's fixing to green up. So right now is a good time to go out there and you can actually see,
Exactly.
okay, when it comes later in the season, this is what a deer would see, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can figure out, hey, this is my thickest spot I can go in and access,
Yeah.
it's going to help you.
Yeah. And so, things I did last year, I even took some of the trees left over from the 40-acre project and I stacked them in areas.
Yeah.
To give myself a little bit of side cover. So, these are all things that, well, for one, there's nothing else to do. There's nothing really to hunt right now. So why not get out and make some improvements?
Yeah, turkeys aren't here yet, right?
Yeah, or, always trying to improve something on it. So
Yeah.
That's something I'm going to be doing. Now's a great time to do it. Obviously, like I said, for me, it's like, man, it's not going to be super hot.
Yeah.
And the bugs aren't out yet. So
Right.
might as well get out there and get some chainsaw and hacking and getting that stuff knocked out.
No southern sweating going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so for me on the access side, I put in that new stand.
Yeah.
Videos on camo on that one, and right away I realized that my access was going to be an issue because I had planned to build my big pond. Well,
Right.
that didn't work out. You know how things go, and
So season everything
yeah,
halts.
yeah. You got to stop it once the deer start moving. So what I've got planned on my place is getting that pond dug, and actually the pond bank itself plays a big role in my access.
Yeah.
So, I hunted that spot a couple times last year, and once I busted a deer out, and it's like, okay, I can't use this yet. I need to really improve the access. So that's something I'm going to go take a look at right away. I've kind of got it drawn up as far as how I want to do it and everything.
Yeah.
I already have the dozer, but the dozer has to be repaired. Yeah. And for some reason, we have that issue. In your place, I killed the dozer last year. So
that seems to be the trend.
we got to change that trend.
We should go to dozer mechanic school so we can handle these problems.
I'm telling you, man. And I don't know if it's just bad luck or it's just the way I am. I don't know.
Yeah, my wife tells me all the time, like, you are so rough on stuff. It's going to do what I want it to do or it ain't. I mean,
it's funny.
But yeah, the way you've got that laid out, once you get that bank up there, I mean, that'll solve all your problems for sure.
Yeah. And that's going to be the key is, how we are, man. If you can't get in and get out, then I'm not going to hunt it because I know I'm going to mess it up.
Yeah.
So I've done it so many times in the past. And that's one of those things, we talk about what we learn. On my place, I've had a plot for a long time. And if you can't get in and get out, you're going to mess it up.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
That's kind of like, discussions we've had in the past. What's the most important thing you learned, in that season? And it's like, man, access has to be number one for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then two, it's like, hunting on the right day, so on and so forth. But
yeah.
Access is everything. So that's something, on our list of to-dos.
For sure.
You hunt it 1 year, especially after the changes we made. We both made some pretty significant changes in our place.
Right.
Mine hunted a lot different than I thought it would. And then, I could see some of my access is pretty good, but there's a couple little tweaks here and there that I need to make, just to stay out of the view, especially until a lot of my cover comes in. Once a lot of that cover comes in, it's going to change the game even more. But I'm looking still a couple of years out, 2-3 years out before the switch comes in.
Takes off.
Takes off, yeah.
Well, see, I think it would be real easy for us to come back and talk about access as a whole show.
Oh, that's a show for sure.
Oh, because, dude, it's so huge.
Yeah.
And even on my place, you can see, Lexi's spot that she's had for years now is almost bulletproof access wise.
Oh, yeah.
And it has been a game changer.
Yeah.
Especially early here for us.
She snipes one, how many years in a row?
She's 3 years in a row, but she shot deer that we didn't find for several years before that.
That might be another show.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. Of course, she'd love that if we bring all that.
Yeah.
But all right. So access is huge right now. So get in there, get those access trails made into those stands. Yeah. And like I said, we're going to come back to this. This will be a full show one time. We want to talk about it because it's that important to us.
No, it is. Yeah. It's something, even as long as you and I have been kind of messing around with this stuff, I learned a lot about it even last year after redoing my whole entire property. It's amazing. I tell you, it's amazing to get in a stand with 2-3 doe groups in there and then get out. Sometimes me and Luke both and get out and
never get busted.
Nothing ever even knows we're there. And it's like, especially when you can have eyes on them, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
it's one thing, like, you get out, you're hunting big woods, and you get out and you don't spook a deer on your way out. But when you're actually looking at them and you get out, it's like, okay, this is working.
Well, I remember the text from you that was like, dude, I just got out and I had like 15 deer in my food plot. And that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. It's almost, it's especially when you put in the work that we did for access and I don't know how many times we talked about stand placement and, it's like, many conversations, and I tend to overthink stuff
No, no.
Yeah,
not
a
at
little
all.
bit. And it's like, it's hard for me to pull the trigger on exactly where to go with and all that stuff. So that's when I get you involved. Like, man, what do you think here? So
Yeah.
it's like, but to see, I guess, the fruits of our labor, and you get out with, 3 doe groups in there, 15, 16 deer at a time, and
Right.
nobody's the wiser. And it's like,
That's pretty cool.
yeah. And I've even walked in, I walked in a couple times and didn't know deer were on the plot till, well, the access I'm fixing to change right now,
Yeah.
you kind of got to dip out and
Yeah.
kind of on the edge of the food plot. Oh gosh, there's deer right there.
What are you tired of belly crawling into the stand?
Yeah,
or
so
what?
I belly crawl a couple times. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, you belly crawled it. So what do you're only talking to like 50 feet though, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like
No,
you're just taking the curve out of the access and
yeah,
be
it's-
straight shot in there.
Yeah, it's a quick fix.
Plus, it's really thick right behind you, so
Yeah,
it's
no,
going to work out really good.
yeah. No, it'll be good. And like I said, I've got that cart that I'm going to be using now to feed with. So I'm going to make a little turnaround spot in there for it and just kind of back up and be able to, feed in there as I want to feed in, and it should be
better.
that might be a whole other show too.
Yeah,
So,
should be better.
I'm kind of anxious to see how that changes or if it does my daylight activity.
Oh, I'm betting on it, man.
Yeah.
I'm betting on it.
Yeah. So,
All right, so access, and then so now let's talk about me and you both last year. Actually, I went a year ahead of you, but we both added water holes last year.
yep.
And so right now is a great time to maintenance the water holes, right?
Yeah. Fall time, deer don't mind kind of that dirty. You don't have to be like crystal clear water or anything. I've watched some kooky YouTube videos where people are putting Kool-Aid in them, trying to get sweet water and everything else. But, in my opinion and in my experience, they'll drink they almost prefer, a water hole versus a running creek.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's temperature. I'm not going to get into all that, but right now mine are full of leaves. You get that stuff kind of rotten in there.
Yeah.
If you've ever been riding a four wheeler side by side and you go through a mud hole, it's got leaves all in it. It smells like a septic tank or
Yep.
something. So for me, I want to get those all raked out. Get that stuff out of there, which it's a quick process. I've got 3 on my place. I mean, you can ride out there and rake them out fairly quickly and easily. The other thing would be, always keep a stick in mind. I use cedar because I figure it's going to last a long time, but make sure that's good and sturdy so you don't run up on a dead armadillo or possum or something in your deal.
Well,
So
it's funny you say that because me and Lexi early season was in her stand, and
Yeah.
we got a water hole there, and it was like we was watching this fox squirrel,
yeah,
and he jumped in, and like I didn't have a stick in there.
yeah.
And so he splashed around for like, it's like, oh my gosh, man, this is horrible. Do we get down? Do we save the
Yeah,
squirrel? What do we do?
Squirrel CPR, Google that right quick.
Yeah, he's just like splashing around while he finally gets out, and it's like, oh, thank goodness he didn't drown right here, you know. So, definitely want to put something in there for the critters to get out.
Yeah, I normally just go cut like some kind of 4 or 5 inch around cedar stick, and then I'll like notch it on one end so it sets on the actual tub so it can't slide down.
Gotcha.
But something to check on because I know. So I put mine in by hand the first time.
That was a lesson, wasn't it?
So I almost died 3 times doing that. I waited till summertime to do it. And so when we did the 40-acre project, I had to move these things all around. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so bad. But anyway, I went and borrowed a buddy of mine's track hoe and knocked them out in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So never again will I probably hold a pickaxe in my hand. But when I redid all mine, some of them I used like, I didn't go with the cedar because it wasn't handy. So, if you got one that's got like a oak stick or something like that in there, I would just go through and double check that to make sure, if a big armadillo or a big possum falls down inside that thing, it can crawl back out of it. And I think you learned that firsthand with the squirrel deal. So
Yeah.
throw a stick in there. And if you don't have water holes, it's not too hot yet. Now would be a good time to place those water holes
Sure.
as well.
Yeah. You can
Especially if
think
you're doing it
about,
by hand.
think about putting them in right now. A small Kubota tractor will dig a hole.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't like it.
Yeah.
But it'll dig a hole. So, and that's how I was able to put the one. I've only got one,
Yeah.
and I've actually got a small watering pond, I guess is
yeah.
what you would call it.
Yeah.
That's my other source. But Definitely seen a lot of activity on them.
Man, I did. Yeah. Since I moved that one around and, I was sending you pictures of that one spot and it's like, man, so I got does bedding in one area and they would hit it every morning. And on the other side of the property, of the evening times, I would get a lot of buck action on it, and it's like the first year I put one in and, had a little bit of early season stuff on it when it was kind of warm, but then it kind of just faded away.
Yeah.
But this year, man, it was year round. I don't know if it was just the location.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they got a ton of action on them.
Well, I think too, when we set your place up, we added corridors.
Yeah.
And you got them along corridors.
Yeah.
So it's like a natural travel route.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So there's no doubt that's a winning combination.
Yeah. No, it works. I was very surprised by, how much they actually use it, especially considering I've got wet weather creeks that have water holes that hold water. I've got a pretty big creek next to me. Of course, there's ponds everywhere, but they like the water holes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's more of a I'm on my way to get breakfast, or I'm on my way to get supper, or on my way to go check out some does. I'm gonna get a quick drink right here, and it's like they work.
Well, I guess it would be 2 years ago. I actually made a video where I put a camera over a scrape. And, and had all for like 6 months worth of footage over.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Well, right next to the scrape was a water hole. And what I found out is a lot of the footage was not checking the scrape, was going to that water hole.
Yeah.
And they would come back and like feet would be wet. And it's like, he was in the water hole.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I can definitely see the attraction there,
Yeah.
Especially in good old Arkansas, early season, we're liable to be bone dry.
Yeah.
And, you have the ability to fill those up. That's an attractant all its own right there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it plays a big role here, especially on the years we don't get rain.
Yeah. That's that's a good point too, as far as filling them up. You're going to have to around here, especially.
Sure.
But so I got the forks on the tractor and one of those little food grade water totes. And, I say that you can let them get down pretty low and they'll still drink out of them. But I probably filled mine up 2 or 3 times last year.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time was just like, all right, I'm fixing to start hunting. Let me get them topped off one last time. And,
Right.
and may or may not have needed to do it. But so.
Yeah. We finally started raining and they were filling naturally, but man, it was rough. We had a couple months there of just nothing. So, definitely some attraction to the water hole side.
Yeah, for sure.
And we were talking about, I was talking about the Kubota.
Yeah.
So there is some tractor maintenance that can be done right now. That's another good thing you could be doing.
Yeah, I'm fixing to start that up right now. As a matter of fact, before you go out and we talked about, we're rough on stuff. So maintenance is especially, tillers, tractors, brush hogs, a grease gun goes a long way. Not to mention, keeping your oil changed and all that stuff. But I'm fixing to do that maybe even today on mine and go around. I got my tiller on back right now. So everything needs to be greased up, lubed up, just the basic stuff, because man, once planting season comes, you do not want to, we don't want to be stuck down for a day, because typically when you and I get together, it's like you bring your stuff to my house, I bring mine to your house, and it's like we're trying to get it done because rain's on the way.
Yeah. We're trying to beat the weather.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really tough to get that acre food plot planted with a rake.
Yeah.
So maintenance of tractors, it's important.
It's kind of like the water hole deal. It's like, man, the older I get, I like hydraulics. I'm not really a pickaxe or a shovel guy.
Exactly.
I don't like operating that stuff. So yeah, keeping good working order. Now's a good time to get out there and do that. Of course, I mean, you need to do it all the time, but
this is a good time.
Yeah.
It's not hot yet.
Yeah.
It's not miserable outside. There's nothing biting you.
Yeah.
Snake's probably not going to get you right now. So.
No. Wasp nest not underneath your brush hog yet. So if you lift it up, you don't have to
run.
Hop off the tractor or anything. That's happened.
Yeah. So the Kubota actually just had to change the front tire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had a slow leak all year, so got that tire swapped out. Well, you find out that from tractor people, from my brother and my dad, that if you change on a 4-wheel drive tractor, if you change one front tire, you need to change them both. because you got two different tread
Oh,
depths.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of like change the gear ratio on from right to left.
Exactly.
Or vice versa. Yeah, that
Exactly.
makes sense.
So I changed
That's another good tip because I probably wouldn't know that.
Well, see, I changed the front tire, and it's like, all right, I got that tire changed, and they're like, you probably ought to change that other tire, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I know a guy that lost his, four-wheel drive.
Front differential blowing out of it.
It's like, okay, so put 2 new tires on it,
Yeah.
see what happens.
Why not?
Yeah, so it's just a little more work. I mean, so
Yeah, I got mine's up there. Gosh, I don't even know. Close to probably pushing that 200-hour maintenance deal about this point. So I'll have to go through and do the hydraulic and the filters and all that stuff before planting season rolls around. Because like I said, once we we'll be hanging on to our seed for 3 weeks to a month, watching the weather. It's like, hey man, this weekend there's 60%. All right, let's go. Let's get it. It's like
let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's take the chance.
Throw them in high gear and let's get this stuff done.
Exactly. All right, so Chris, just to recap, so you access the stands.
Yeah.
You want to look at them water holes.
Yeah.
Need to do a little tractor maintenance, right?
Yeah.
And so we got coming up on your place, we're actually putting in some fruit trees.
Yeah, I did the orchard last year, and you can check that out on Camo Family Outdoors and YouTube. I had, I got pretty good luck actually. I forgot how many I planted. 8 trees, I think
it was 8, yeah.
And I had my persimmon tree died, which I got it replaced for free, and all those are actually supposed to be coming in today. And I got a couple more trees, a Fuji and an Arkansas black apple, which I already have on the big plot, but I'm going to put those down on the lower plot just for another attraction. Where same place I put the red osier dogwood on the south side, I'm going to put some fruit trees over on the northern side of that little plot. Because like you said, that was your number one pick, and I think that food plot's going to be awesome. So
I think, and that's the thing too, man. It's like we were talking about. Fruit trees is another one of those things you got to wait some years.
Yeah.
It's going to take 2 or 3 years to get that fruit coming.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's an investment in your property.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're a really serious whitetail guy,
Man,
you might want to have one.
I mean, I think about those things. So I drove around there Sunday, and I was read the red osier stuff, and a lot of my fruit trees are already blooming. And it's like, man, so this is year 2 on some of those. They were saying year 3, year 4-ish. I'm like, can you imagine the pull that 8 or 10 fruit trees is gonna bring there? And it's like so I how we are. Did all the investigation before I did it, the self-pollinators, how far to plant them, the ones that cross-pollinate, which ones work better with apple trees, and the planting depth, caging them, putting stuff around the bottom, because let's say rabbits and squirrels, they'll get in there and actually like girdle your fruit trees. They'll just eat a big strip out of them and kill them dead. So these are all things that the investigating side of it went. So to plant 8 and lose 1, I thought that was pretty good
on a drought fall.
Yeah. I kept them all watered, which it's a hassle, but it kind of goes with what we talk about. It's like, how bad do you want it?
Yep.
And it's like every other day I'm filling up the tote, putting it on the tractor, and going and watering. And then you brought up something the other day about like a 5-gallon bucket trick. I may try out this year to maybe save some trips out there or something.
Well, I had seen one day, I went by a place, and I forget, they had probably like 10 trees out there, and there was a 5-gallon bucket beside each tree. And I thought, what in the world? Well, come to find out, there's like a little pinhole in that thing, and it's full of water, and it's watering.
Yeah.
Of course, I haven't looked into the exact of it, but that may be something to check into. At least maybe.
No, for sure. Yeah.
At least maybe you're filling up a 5-gallon bucket, once a week versus, whatever.
Man, I think see the way I do it, I'm pretty fast and furious. I go out there and put a 5-gallon bucket underneath the tote, and I water them 5 gallons at a time. Like during that time I was doing it like every other day, because the ground was concrete.
It was horrible.
Which I did. I put mulch around them to help hold some of that moisture too, which I think helps. But they say those, it got so hot, so dry, that mulch helps keep the root system cooler, which probably saved a lot of them. Also,
I bet
it retained some water. So for me, that was pretty good odds having, one tree die out of all that.
So for those that don't know, kind of recap, maybe kind of recap like the planting depth, exactly kind of what you did.
All right. So, when I started out, I kind of mapped mine out, right? So we had plans of building the deer mansion. So I'm thinking ahead when these trees get 20 foot tall, I want to be able to have shooting lanes down every one of them. So I mapped it out and literally mapped it out, like measured, like each tree is X amount of feet apart,
right?
And it's staggered.
You had a plan.
I did, yeah. So I was just like, I overthink things a little bit, but they're staggered. So I've got shooting lane kind of down the middle, and each of them are separated, 35, 40 feet apart. So I'll even have diagonal shooting lanes in them as well. So when they get bigger, I've still got these lanes. So that's, for me, you got to map it out. Like, you don't want to go out there and put 5 trees in the middle of your food plot and then you can't see the backside of it. You know? Like, so for me, that was my first step. Like, how do I want this to lay out? And then after that, it was, planting a fruit tree. What fruit trees do you want? When they're going to drop? So mine, I've got some apple trees, some pear trees. Some of them drop early, some of them drop late. So I should have fruit dropping from, September all the way into December, the way I've got it set up right now. So do your research on that planting zone, where you at, what grows where you are. But for me, having that attraction the whole hunting season, especially during that muzzleloader time. So you don't want them all to drop,
and
produce fruit in the springtime, and then you guys got a tree in your way,
or it's over in a week.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of did the research and planned mine out to where, they're going to drop. Some drop early, some drop late. So I've got that some kind of attraction my way through there. And then, the other side would be, after you map it out, figure out what trees you want. Like I said earlier, touch on a little bit. Some trees self-pollinate. Others, you got to have other trees around them. You got to plant them, certain widths apart so they pollinate each other. So on the depth side of it, I read, a long time ago that you want to have the root ball sticking up just a little bit above. Otherwise, you can kind of get some rot going on the trunk and stuff. So that's easy rule of thumb. On the width, however, whatever size the root ball is, you want to go twice that. And that just kind of allows the plant to have loose soil to, get a good start.
Get the roots spread out on.
Yeah. So rough up the root ball and then twice as big around as the root ball is. And the other thing I did to it is I wrapped the trunks up with some small cages because I'd read that rats, rabbits, squirrels, all kinds of varmints will get in there and actually like girdle that tree and kill it.
So eat the bark all the way around it.
They'll eat the bark all the way around it, and then now you got a dead tree. So I did that as step 2, and then step 3 was actually cage the entire tree, which is, I didn't make it too sturdy. I used a couple T-posts and some wire and kind of angled them out there just to keep the deer from browsing.
Yeah. I can imagine as many does as you had running around in your place.
Bunch of does. Yeah.
They would have wiped them trees out in a hurry.
Yeah. Every leaf on them would have been done. And then the other side was the bucks,
Oh yeah. You had rubs on every tree around the edge.
Every tree that was
sapling.
Sapling next to a big tree or on the edge was pretty much rubbed up. So I think I would have had a lot of dead trees. And the other factor was, occasionally we get hogs around there. So I actually had one push the cage all the way in or root around the tree, didn't damage it. But I think, having that loose soil and stuff, it deterred them from getting in there. They could have rooted them up, pull them out of the ground, how pigs do. So that was another reason for caging them. And, I'm gonna probably leave mine caged longer than normal just because I'm hoping, the clock's ticking. I'm hoping year 3 I'll actually have fruit dropping on these things. So I'm going to leave them caged up a little bit longer than normal just for those reasons. Just hopefully, give them the best chance to survive. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too, it's a lot of people won't take the steps or invest in something that's going to take 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
But it's also the same way with switch.
Yeah,
Switchgrass
exactly.
takes, it takes a couple years to establish. So
Yeah, and I did that last year. It was like I didn't want to wait, so I did a bunch of plot screening, and then
Right.
and now this year I've converted everything over to switchgrass for right now, where I'm going to. Some of the stuff on the back side, some of the stuff that was kind of like segregating the plot into different sections, I mowed all that down, and I'm going to go switch into every bit of all those locations. Then, I had some bald spots and some spots that didn't get sunlight really good.
Right.
So I've got the seed bed kind of ready for that. Missed out on the frost seeding deal because I wasn't for sure 100% what I wanted to do yet, but I got seed on the way. The seed bed's ready, and I have sprayed, pre-emergent in those spots. Hopefully get ahead of the spring green up. That way we had,
So you went in there and sprayed simazine?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can frost seed during the winter.
Yeah.
All the way up to like February for us probably.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
we
think
actually get some warm days in March.
Yeah.
So like you said, you did do a little bit of frost seeding. I know that the old food plot.
The old food plot. Yeah.
Yeah, where we did the red osier dogwood.
Yeah.
You did it in there, and then you went in there, like you said, and took the fingers out that we had in
Yeah.
plot screen.
Yeah.
And put those in switch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the frost seeding deal, it's like that was new to us, but I mean, I had a pretty good turnout last year doing the frost
You
seeding
did.
deal. It works. So,
Yes, it does.
this year I just kind of said I missed it, but I'm going to do some spring planting, and there's some areas that we had a lot of traffic, so we did a lot of food plot work. So we had tractors in and out, the big 4 tons of lime buggy in and out of there side by side. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and it kind of just beat that area down. And so I'm going to fill in some spots. And like I said, on one side of mine, it got a lot of shade, so I extended that seed bed out, hoping to get some more sunlight on it.
Right.
Lost some food plot, but hoping to make up for it with good cover because, like we talked about 2-3 years into this thing, the benefits is access.
Yes.
You can get in, you can get out without being seen. Number 2, we've both seen it happen. A big buck can sit back in the woods 20, 40, 50 yards, however open your woods are, and look into those food plots. And a lot of times you'll never know he's there.
Exactly.
The switchgrass wall forces those bucks to come in there and say, is there does in here? Which could be the difference maker between harvesting your target buck and not,
Absolutely. And that, that big old boy, he feels a lot more comfortable in cover.
Yeah, for sure.
Than wide open spaces, obviously.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's a problem we've had on, both of our properties is a lot of, we're surrounded by big woods and big timber. So we can't go on other people's property and make it better. We can go on ours and make it better. But, access for us is pretty huge. And like I said, even some of the areas, whatever you can do on your place, it's like if you got to go through and hinge cut or pile up some brush piles or, there's several different ways to do it. But for us, it's the switch.
Well, and that's, again, it goes back to patience, which me and you, we both struggle with patience. We want it to happen. But, even on my place, I went back last year where my plot screen had been and I moved it back and I planted that spot in switch. And so, I don't know how good it did.
Yeah.
I'll find out. And I actually did a switch spring planting. I didn't frost seed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, hopefully this year I'm getting some pretty good stand, I hope.
Yeah.
We did have a horrendous drought that just, so I don't know if it survived or not, but that'll be fun to see.
Yeah.
And should start popping here before too long. Switch is a little bit later in the summer.
Yeah, a little bit later.
Yeah. But, we'll see. So, I mean,
it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. So, just to recap everything, red osier dogwood, we checked the progress. Yep. Access to the stands.
Yep.
That's huge, huge, huge.
Yeah.
Think about that right now. If you can go look at a stand, check that access.
Yeah, for sure.
Worth
Especially
doing.
when there's no leaves on the trees.
Exactly.
And seeing what they're seeing.
Before all the critters get out. Water holes. If you don't have one, we recommend adding one for sure.
Yeah.
And if you have one, go out there and get them cleaned out.
Yeah, clean them out a little bit.
Yeah, because you lost a lot of leaves into them most likely.
Yeah, for sure.
And check for little squirrels swimming around in there. You don't want those in. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Tractor maintenance. We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
and you got to take care of them tractors unless you want to break your back and do it the hard way.
Yeah, don't like that. We like hydraulics, not hard work.
That's right. And then fruit trees, add to your place. It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
I think that'll just make it better. And it's another one of them projects like we talked about. You're 2 to 3 years out, maybe even 4.
Yeah.
And then that ties in with the switch. Switch is the same way.
Yep.
But the payoffs are big when it's successful.
Yeah, for sure. Patience.
Patience. So
Not my virtue, but yeah, sometimes you got to do it.
Yep. So, hey, we're coming into that time of year where it's turkey chasing time.
Yep. Yeah. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to be talking turkey.
Don't talk turkey. We may have some guest speakers. We don't know yet.
We got some people lined up.
Yep.
Going to be on here talking about some turkey calls and some, how to hunt them. What's the best way? A lot of good tips on there. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Those shows will be fun for sure.
Yeah. Guys, check us out on all of our medias, which are Chris.
Yep. We got, obviously, the Hunt Experience, Camel Family Outdoors, and Whitetail Property Management. And those all have Facebook pages, YouTube, and there's phone numbers, emails down there. Anybody got any, something you want us to talk about, show ideas, questions, comments? We're open to all that stuff.
Yep. Love to hear from you guys anyway and every way. We want to thank you guys for listening today.
Yep.
This has been the Hunt Experience. Have a good one.
Thank you.